They say the sharpest knives aren't always made of steel. Sometimes they're shaped from words. I never thought I'd live long enough to be wounded not by time, not by loss, but by the voice of someone I once called family. My name is Tyanita, and at 79 years old, I've learned that love within a family can sometimes cut deeper than hate from a stranger. I was born on a cold winter morning in a small village tucked beside the Spirit River. My father used to say that the first thing I did was listen, not cry. "This one's a quiet soul," he'd whisper to Mama. "She'll carry the weight of others in her silence." He wasn't wrong. From the time I could walk, I listened more than I spoke. I watched how Mama's hands healed others with herbs and kindness, how Father's calloused palms shaped wood into tools that lasted generations. We didn't have much, just a single-room cabin, a small patch of land, and the river's song. But what we had was ours, and we shared it freely. That's what class meant to me. Not money, but grace. Not silk dresses or chandeliers, but the way a person carried themselves when no one was watching. And I taught my son Elias the same. Elias was my only child. The Creator gave me him after 2 miscarriages that nearly broke my spirit. I raised him with care and quiet strength, teaching him how to mend torn shirts, cook his own meals, and speak to elders with respect. He grew into a fine man, kind-hearted, gentle, always helping the neighbors with their fences or chopping wood for the widows. When he left our small town for college, I felt both proud and hollow, like I'd sent a part of my soul into the world. He'd call me every Sunday. "Mama," he'd say, "I met someone. Her name's Clarissa. She's different, confident, city-bred." I'd smile at his excitement, hearing the warmth in his voice. "If she makes you happy, son, that's enough for me," I'd tell him. And it was true. Happiness doesn't come easy in this life. When it shows up, you hold it gently. Years passed. He graduated, found work in the city, and brought Clarissa home to meet me one summer. She stepped out of the car wearing heels that sank into the dirt and sunglasses that hid half her face. Her perfume arrived before she did. "Mrs. Greyhawk," she greeted, her tone polite but distant. I smiled and offered her tea, mint leaves I'd grown myself. She accepted, but when she took a sip, her lips pressed together like the flavor offended her. Still, I tried. I showed her the garden, the handmade quilts, the photo of Elias as a boy catching his first fish. She nodded absently, more interested in her phone than my stories. But love makes fools of us all. I told myself she was just nervous, new to our ways. I didn't want to see the truth then. Her eyes never saw me as family, only as a reminder of where Elias came from and what she wanted him to forget. Months later, they married. The wedding was beautiful, a city affair with flowers taller than me and candles that probably cost more than my monthly pension. I wore my best dress, a deep burgundy one Elias had bought for me, and a turquoise brooch from my mother. Clarissa's family sat at the front, whispering in silk, while I sat quietly at the edge, hands folded, smiling through the ache of feeling out of place. After the vows, I approached her mother. "Your daughter looked beautiful," I said sincerely. The woman glanced at me, her diamond earrings catching the light. "Yes," she replied, "we're proud of her. She's marrying up, you know. Elias is a fine young man." Marrying up. The word stuck like a burr in my throat. I wanted to ask, up from where, but I bit my tongue. Pride can ruin peace, and I've had enough of both to know which is worth keeping. Years rolled by, and the distance between Elias and me grew wider, not in miles, but in moments left unsaid. Clarissa rarely called, and when she did, it was for formality's sake. "Elias is busy," she'd say. "He'll call when he can." I began sending them small care packages, jars of wild honey, dried herbs, hand-woven scarves. Clarissa never acknowledged them. Once I received a note in return. "Thank you. Please don't send food next time. Elias is on a diet. My heart sank, but I kept writing letters anyway. Old habits die slow. Then came the day everything changed. It was early spring, the kind of day when the air still bites, but the earth smells alive. Elias called. "Mama," he said, "we want you to come stay with us for a while. Clarissa's been asking." My heart leapt. Maybe time had softened her. Maybe she'd learned to see me beyond my plain dresses and quiet ways. When I arrived, their home stunned me. Polished floors, spotless counters, not a thing out of place. Clarissa welcomed me with a smile too tight to be real. "We're glad you could come," she said, leading me to a small guest room. "I hope you're comfortable." At first, everything seemed fine. I cooked dinner one evening, roasted chicken with sage and wild onions, just like I used to make for Elias. He took a bite and smiled. "Mama, I've missed this." Clarissa poked at her plate. "It's rustic," she commented, "but not exactly healthy." I laughed softly, trying to ease the tension. "A little butter won't hurt you, dear. Life's too short for tasteless food." She didn't respond. That night I overheard them arguing in the kitchen. Clarissa's voice was sharp as glass. "Elias, she can't keep cooking like this. My friends are coming this weekend. What will they think? You know how she talks, how she dresses. She's sweet, but she's lower class." The words hit me before I even realized I was crying. Lower class, not old-fashioned, not different, just less. I'd spent my life building, giving, raising her husband with every ounce of my love, and still I was less. I packed my bag quietly that night. Elias found me at the door. "Mama, what's wrong?" His eyes searched mine, confused, hurt. "Did Clarissa say something?" I smiled through tears. "No, son, I just miss my garden." I wanted to protect him from the truth, from choosing between us. He hugged me tightly, whispering, "I'll visit soon." But I knew the road between a mother's heart and her grown son's life only widens with time. Back home, I sat on my porch, the stars wide and endless. The world was quiet again, but not the same kind of quiet I was born into. This one echoed. I realized then, poverty isn't always measured in coins. Some people are rich in money, but bankrupt in spirit. Tell me, child, when someone you love looks down on you, not for what you've done, but for what you are, do you stay silent to keep the peace or speak up to protect your dignity? When I came back home after leaving Elias's house, the air felt different, heavier somehow, as if the land itself knew I carried shame in my bones. I unpacked my bag slowly, folding my clothes with trembling hands. My garden waited for me the same as before. Rows of sage, lavender, and sunflowers nodding gently in the wind, but I couldn't feel peace among them. Every flower reminded me of a time when love bloomed freely before it was pruned by judgment. I kept hearing her voice in my head, lower class, 2 words that turned my lifetime of sacrifice into something small and dirty. For days, I didn't sleep much. I'd sit on my porch with a cup of mint tea, staring at the sky until dawn. I thought about all the times I'd gone without, just so Elias could have more. I remembered mending his shirts late into the night, selling my beadwork at the market, skipping meals when times were hard. I never resented it, not once. That's what mothers do. We give, and sometimes the world forgets we had anything to give at all. It wasn't until the 3rd week that Elias called again. "Mama," he said, his voice tight, "why did you leave like that? Clarissa said you weren't feeling well." I hesitated. I wanted to protect him the way I always had. "I just needed some rest," I said softly. "City air doesn't suit me." He didn't sound convinced. "You've been quiet, Mama. Are you sure everything's okay?" "I'm fine, son. Don't worry." But mothers forget. Sons grow up, and even the gentlest ones can hear lies in their mother's voice. 2 days later, his car pulled into my yard. He stepped out wearing the same leather jacket he used to sneak out with when he was 17, his hair a little grayer now, but his eyes still that soft brown that had once looked up to me like I was his whole world. He didn't say a word at first. He just hugged me long and tight. When he finally spoke, his voice broke. She told me what she said. I froze. Elias, she told me everything, Mama. She said you overheard her that night, and that's why you left. My chest tightened. And what did you say to her? He lowered his head. I told her she was wrong. Silence settled between us like ash. Then softly he added, But Mama, she didn't understand why it hurt you so much. She said you're too sensitive, that she didn't mean it that way. I looked at him, at the boy I'd raised to respect others, now caught between two worlds. She didn't mean it, I repeated, but she said it. And you don't call a wound an accident just because you didn't intend to bleed someone. He didn't answer. His eyes filled with guilt. I placed my hand on his cheek. You love her, Elias, I know, and love doesn't make us blind. It just makes us quiet. He exhaled, voice trembling. Mama, she wants to apologize. Please just talk to her. She's outside. For a moment I thought my heart stopped. Here? He nodded. Clarissa stood at the edge of my yard, looking wildly out of place, her polished shoes sinking into the soft earth, her eyes darting around as if afraid the soil itself would stain her. I took a slow breath and walked toward her. Mrs. Greyhawk, she began, her voice uncertain. I came to say I'm sorry. For what exactly? I asked. Not harshly, just honestly. She hesitated. For what I said, it was a stupid thing to say. Stupid, I repeated quietly. That's all? Her chin lifted slightly. I didn't mean to offend you. I come from a different background. I wasn't raised around this. She gestured vaguely toward my home, my land, my life. The words stung more than she knew, not because they were cruel, but because they were true to her. She didn't understand that this small patch of dirt, these weathered walls, these hands, all carried history. Generations of women had stood here before me, planting, cooking, weaving, praying. To her, it was less. To me, it was sacred. I could have shouted. I could have told her how her words cracked open every old wound, how I'd spent my life proving that dignity doesn't need diamonds, but instead I just said, I forgive you. Her eyes widened in surprise. You do? Yes, I said softly, but forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means I won't let your ignorance poison my peace. She looked down, embarrassed. For the first time, I saw a flicker of something in her. Not guilt, but uncertainty. The beginning of understanding. Elias joined us, placing a hand on her shoulder. Clarissa, he said gently, this is where I grew up. This is what made me who I am. If you can't respect that, then you can't respect me. She turned to him, tears in her eyes. I didn't mean to hurt anyone, Elias. I just felt out of place. Everyone expects me to be perfect. Sometimes I take it out on others. I watched her torn between anger and pity. I realized she wasn't cruel. She was just empty. She'd built her worth from appearances, not roots. That night they stayed for dinner. I cooked again, roasted corn, venison stew, and fry bread. Clarissa ate quietly. Halfway through, she looked up and whispered, "This is good." It wasn't an apology, not exactly, but it was a start. After they left, I sat outside again, the stars scattered like old memories. Elias called me before bed. "Mama," he said, "thank you for forgiving her. I don't know if I could have done what you did." I smiled. "That's because forgiveness isn't weakness, son. It's wisdom. You forgive so you can live lighter." He was silent for a while, then said softly, "You always make things right, Mama." But that night, for the first time, I wondered if I really had, because forgiveness doesn't always heal. Sometimes it just stops the bleeding. In the weeks that followed, Clarissa called me more often. Her voice softened. She even asked about my garden, my recipes, my memories of Elias as a child. It was as if she was trying to bridge something that had long been broken. I answered kindly, but there was still a distance, like a crack in porcelain that no amount of glue could hide. Then one day a letter came in the mail, not from her, but from her mother. A letter that would unravel everything I thought was mended. The letter came on a Thursday morning. I remember because the sun was just rising, painting the sky that soft pink that always makes me think of my mother's quilts. The mailman handed it to me with his usual nod, but there was something different about this envelope. Thick paper, careful handwriting, and a faint scent of perfume that didn't belong to my world. It was addressed to me, but the sender's name made my stomach twist. Margaret Langford, Clarissa's mother. I sat on the porch for a long while, just staring at it. Letters have power. They hold voices that can't be unheard. I'd learned that too many times in my life. When I finally opened it, the first lines made my hands tremble. Mrs. Greyhawk, I am writing to you not out of malice, but out of honesty. There are things my daughter has hidden from Elias and from you. I believe you deserve to know. I almost stopped reading right there, but curiosity is cruel when it's tied to love. Clarissa has always been ambitious. Before she met your son, she was engaged to another man, a banker twice her age, who could give her everything she thought she wanted. When she broke that engagement to marry Elias, I warned her. I told her love doesn't feed you. She said she would prove me wrong. But lately I fear she's begun to see my point. She says she feels trapped. She says Elias doesn't understand her world and that you... I froze as my eyes caught the next line. That you remind her of everything she's trying to escape. For a moment the world went quiet. Even the wind stopped. I folded the letter carefully, though my hands shook so badly I almost tore it. I didn't cry right away, not yet. I just sat there staring out across my field where the goldenrod swayed in the morning light. I thought of Elias, his laugh, his heart, the way he always believed love could fix anything, and now here was proof that it couldn't. Later that evening, when he called to check on me, I didn't tell him about the letter. I couldn't. Not yet. Instead, I said, Elias, do you still believe people can change? He paused. I do, Mama. Why? I smiled weakly, just wondering if I'm too old to learn how to stop hoping. He chuckled, not catching the pain behind my words. You? You're the reason I still believe in good things. After we hung up, I sat in silence until the house grew dark. The letter lay open beside me on the table, the ink catching the lamplight like a wound that refused to close. The next morning, I drove into town. First time I'd left the house in weeks. The road to Elias's place felt longer this time, like each mile was testing my resolve. When I arrived, Clarissa opened the door. Her smile faltered the moment she saw me holding the letter. Can we talk? I asked quietly. She nodded, stepping aside. Elias was at work, so it was just us, two women separated by more than age. I placed the letter on the table. Your mother wrote to me, her face drained of color. What did she say? Enough, I replied, enough for me to know the truth. She swallowed hard, her eyes darting toward the window as if looking for an escape. She had every right, I interrupted, my voice steady. She told me what you said, that you feel trapped, that my presence embarrasses you. Clarissa's lips trembled. I didn't mean, don't, I said softly. Don't lie to me again. She sat down slowly, her shoulders shaking. I was angry. I said things I shouldn't have. Elias doesn't fit into the life I thought I wanted, and sometimes I take it out on you, but I do love him. I nodded. Maybe you do, but love without respect is like planting flowers in dry soil. It might look pretty for a while, but it'll die all the same. Tears slipped down her cheeks. I didn't want to hurt anyone. I just don't know how to be different. For a moment I felt something, Not sympathy, but understanding. I'd been her once, long ago, young, proud, afraid of being less than someone else. The difference was I learned my worth didn't depend on who noticed it. Clarissa, I said quietly, you don't have to understand my life. You just have to respect it. And if you can't, then one day you'll realize what you've lost. Not me, not this house, but Elias's heart. She covered her face and sobbed. I left the letter on the table and walked out without another word. When Elias came that evening, his face was pale. Mama, he said, Clarissa told me you got a letter. I nodded. She did. He hesitated. And? And she told you the truth. He looked away. She did. And I told her I can't be with someone who looks down on the people who raised me. I closed my eyes. Elias. He shook his head, his voice breaking. I loved her, Mama, but I can't build a home on shame. Not yours, not mine. He sat beside me, his hands covering his face. And for the first time since he was a boy, I pulled him close and let him cry. We didn't talk much after that. Sometimes silence says everything words can't. Months passed. The seasons changed. Clarissa moved out of state. Elias stayed close, spending weekends fixing the old barn, planting new seeds with me. Slowly, the air around us grew lighter, not because the pain was gone, but because we learned to live beside it. One evening, as we watched the sunset, Elias said, You know, Mama, I used to think love was about choosing someone who makes you happy. Now I think it's about choosing someone who doesn't make you feel small. I smiled. That's the kind of love worth waiting for. He looked at me, eyes shining. You taught me that. I turned to the horizon, the sky turning orange and gold just like the years behind me, and I thought maybe that's what all this was for. Not to be loved perfectly, but to teach love how to last. Because sometimes the greatest victory isn't being respected by everyone. It's knowing you never stopped respecting yourself.